In the headlines, the resumption of operations at Ross University projected for January 2019. One community designated a disaster area after Tropical Storm Erika, unsure of its readiness for the upcoming hurricane season, and Grenada lends a hand to revive Dominica's cocoa industry. I am Kenny Williams with the Channel 5 News. Back with the details right after this.
Do you need more cash for that home improvement? Then come to Fast Cash, where we give you more. At Fast Cash, our customers get more funds and more time to repay. But wait, can't come to us? We'll come to you, and our mobile officer will get you on your way. Small businesses, consumers, and taxi owners. Fast Cash has more for everyone. Simply call or visit any of our locations for more. Smarter, faster, better. Fast Cash. Terms and conditions apply.
Thank you for staying with us. A January 2019 date proposed for Ross University to resume classes. Idona Jean-Baptiste has that story.
Reconstruction is ongoing at the Picard site to meet the school's deadline to return classes in January. 162 employees await the possibility of getting back their jobs, and landlords who have been leasing to students are complaining about the burden of financial commitments. More than 1,400 Ross students, faculty and staff will continue the remainder of the year, operating from a campus belonging to Lincoln Memorial University in Tennessee. Parliamentary representative of the Portsmouth constituency, Ian Douglas, says the school's management wants certain matters addressed before resuming operations on island.
All things being equal, they express some concern about coming back in the September semester, which is coincidentally in the middle of the hurricane season. But we're in contact with them, and we feel optimistic that Ross will be back, albeit we're probably looking at a January 2019 start. But by that time too, that will give us enough time to ensure that all of the issues associated with the comfort and safety of the students can be addressed.
Among these issues within government's control to address, according to Douglas, is restoration of internet service in all student apartments and external security.
That is the external issues like the roads, lighting, external security. We're talking about internet throughout all of the apartments and buildings of Picard, and also the internal issues that Ross themselves have control over. For example, the renovation and the rebuilding of some of their buildings that have been damaged, the entire on-campus atmosphere, their own security issues for the safety and security of their students. All of those issues, it'll give us time anyway to ensure that all of those issues are addressed in time for their return in 2019.
While Douglas says government would like to see classes resume at the Picard campus as soon as possible, reconstruction has to be considered.
Try to keep in constant contact with the principals who I have certain relationships with. Of course, I have family members working at Ross too. My sister is one of the doctors at Ross. I have an aunt who is a professor at Ross also. And the latest is that work is continuing on campus. The renovating works and buildings are going up, and more permanent buildings than what used to be there before. They have more steel frame buildings, and they're actually trying to get the campus back into a pre-Maria stage, because they're very concerned about the security and safety of their students and workers and lecturers on campus.
The state's intervention has been to expand the $10 million tourism loan facility at the Aid Bank to service providers of the university and accommodate its redundant employees within a temporary employment initiative. Idona Jean-Baptiste, Channel 5 News.
In more top stories, as Dominicans mark 6 months since the passage of Hurricane Maria, residents of one special disaster area are doubting their readiness ahead of the 2018 hurricane season. Paradise Valley in Bath Estate was among the communities designated special disaster area post-Tropical Storm Erika in 2015. Public Relations Officer for the Bath Estate Disaster Committee, Gloria Walsh, says though things are more challenging now, the community is coping with their current situation.
From what I've seen, A lot of people, they are trying, like it's one day at a time, but knowing the work on the ground, like doing psychological first aid, you see many people going through their struggles. It's just that, you know, they just cannot, you know, deal with certain situations. And some of them is like, you know, just having the faith that one day things will get better.
With the 2018 hurricane season less than 2 months away, Walt says it may be too late to see what the community considers ideal interventions for their safety.
Well, I know it's kind of late now, because even if we suggest about building a wall in that area, I know it's too late. So next week, the committee is going to meet to see what can be done or to inform the people. Well, now the people have moved to the Bamfasset Community Center, and that is one other place we're looking at to see if we can get, you know, the upstairs, built-in upstairs. I don't know if it can be done. I don't know if it can be done before the hurricane season, but that would be another ideal place, the upstairs of the Bamfasset Community Center. I think that would be a better place in terms of shelter.
Walt says going forward, the location of emergency shelters will be vital in ensuring safe structures to house residents during natural disasters.
In terms of structure, I think the local government would have to put things in place. We'll have to get you know, contractors and take a look again to see where they are considering hurricane shelters, because even when I went to a shelter manager meeting, most of the shelter managers were saying like some of their buildings, they totally lost some of the shelters, you know, and we have to see what can be done in terms of that that particular event for the structure, because it wasn't an easy road.
In other news, the Caribbean Development Bank is reporting that approximately $50 billion has been spent over the past 6 years in disaster response from hydrometeorological events. CDB is dispersing funds for the Model Safe Schools program from the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, CDEMA. Project manager at CDB explained that the education sector is among the most vulnerable in times of disaster.
For the period of 1950 and 2014, the total damage resulting from tropical storm and hurricanes in the Caribbean was estimated at $50 billion for 148 disasters. That's been about $350 million on average per disaster.
Hurricane Maria caused an estimated $70 million in damage to Dominica's education sector, and Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education says the matter of safe schools is a public policy issue for government.
Given the key role of education in social and economic development, the role of our schools as disaster shelters, and how we use our school buildings for community events, the issue of safety is a public policy issue for our government. The Model Safe School program and its toolkits is a suite of guidance tools through which comprehensive disaster management may be better integrated into our schools. It is a vehicle through which Dominica and the rest of the region would address school safety. School safety exists in the broader context of enhancing resilience through mainstreaming of disaster risk management in the education sector.
The Model Safe Schools program is being funded among the 6 OECS countries to the tune of €746,000. Next up, a double accident on the Massac Highway on Sunday afternoon left at least one woman hospitalized, nursing possibly serious injuries. After parking her car on the highway, the woman in question was walking towards a collision which had taken place earlier when she was struck by an oncoming vehicle. The woman wearing a neck brace was lifted from the roadside onto a stretcher and taken to hospital. So far, no official word from the police on these incidents. On to matters of education, where Dominica has become the 6th Caribbean country to launch the Model Safe Schools program.
The program was developed by the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, CIDEMA, in order to help increase the resilience of the education sector in the region. Minister for Education, Peter Serja, says the implementation of the Model Safe Schools program goes hand in hand with Dominica's goal of becoming the first climate-resilient country in the world.
As ministry, we are committed to the development of emergency plans for all of our schools. This, my friends, fits snugly with the disaster risk reduction measures being proposed by CIDEMA and our other partners in the creation of safe schools. But even more importantly is the attention that must be paid to the human element. We must equip our schools with the capacity to develop and implement disaster plans.
Implementing officer of the Model Safe Schools program says education is key in helping break the cycle of vulnerability and build a more resilient Caribbean.
Education is key to engendering a culture of safety, given its central role in shaping knowledge and behavior, and is therefore a priority sector in the regional comprehensive disaster management strategy. According to the Caribbean Development Bank's 2015 annual report, approvals for the education sector were $70.5 million in 2015, representing the highest level of approval since 2011. This allocation included both the construction of infrastructure and improvement on the quality of education. With such major investment, it is our duty to consider the Safe Schools model if we are to break the cycle of vulnerability and build a more resilient education sector.
The planned duration of the Model Safe Schools project is 24 months. Andrea Louis, Channel 5 News.
You are watching the Channel 5 News. When we come back, the latest on the York Valley Bridge. That and more when we return.
If you're HIV positive or have an STI, having unprotected sex with multiple partners puts them in grave danger. You will expose every partner and their present and future partners to HIV or another STI. Use a condom every time you have sex. You can live a productive life even if diagnosed with HIV. Remember, early detection is key to your survival. Be responsible, protect yourself and others. Help stop the spread of HIV and other STIs.
Welcome back. Dominica has had to ask for Grenada's hand in resuscitating its cocoa sector. The Grenada Cocoa Association will provide cocoa beans so the Dominica Export and Import Agency, DEXIA, can distribute to cocoa processors. Crop Development Officer at DEXIA, Theodora Anthony Williams, says almost 100% of the crop was devastated by Hurricane Maria.
After Hurricane Maria, some processors came into our agency to request assistance to source cocoa beans because our cocoa was devastated heavily. We have made contact with Grenada Cocoa Association to source beans. Hence, we developed a database of cocoa seed producers from the west, south, central regions, and we felt that this was an ideal opportunity to provide some technical assistance to them in terms of post-harvest practices, what they can do and look for if they were to buy beans from the farmers, or if they themselves want to get involved later in fermenting and drying their beans, what is expected of them.
Mm-hmm. So how long will you be holding their hands, so to speak, in this process?
We are there to continue to provide technical assistance to the clients that we work with. We work with farmers and manufacturers. We want to get them to a point where they can organize themselves into a group.
There is also an expectation that trained cocoa processors can set up their own processing facilities.
So we envisage that they can become a group, and also that they can set up processing facilities that are independent of their homes, to ensure that they have a quality product that is meet world standards, because we are a fine flavored producer country, and we also want that our end products or added value products too also provide that reputation that we are known for in Dominica.
The plan is to work closely with cocoa processors to help meet standards for the export market by also using quality beans.
We'll continue to work with the processors to see where they are in terms of their processing. We know that some of their facilities are damaged, some of them have lost their equipment. We'll again provide technical assistance in sourcing the equipment, in leading them to suppliers of the raw material, also to give them direction in terms of labeling and marketing, because these are very important aspects in terms of the cocoa stick chocolate production.
We continue with this item where the completion of the $11 million York Valley Bridge means farmers can now have easier access to farmlands in the Layou Valley area. One of the major factors which had an impact on the progress of works on the bridge was occasional heavy rain. The York Valley Bridge was destroyed in 2011 following the collapse of the Mathieu Dam. Demolition of the remnants of the old bridge was completed in September 2016, and construction on the new structure began in October the same year. The bridge was constructed by the China Railway 14th Bureau Group Company Limited. Over 22 Chinese nationals and more than 13 nationals were employed on the project. And the Public Service Union is heading into a meeting with port management this week with the option to take industrial action still on the table. Prolonged protest action was averted on Friday when chairman of the Air and Seaport Authority agreed to sit down with the PSU leadership on Wednesday. The decision whether to strike or not will be determined by what transpires at Wednesday's meeting. The outcome of Wednesday's meeting will be discussed with DPSU members during a meeting planned for Thursday. Since the DPSU's action on Friday, the Prime Minister has released a statement warning there will be no negotiations while strike action is ongoing. The Prime Minister has also pointed to the removal of duty on imports, a significant drop in tax revenue, and the port's current financial status are among reasons why a request for salary increase would not be practical at this time. The union says there are a number of outstanding matters which have not received attention. This is the Channel 5 News. When we come back, the sports highlights after this. First up in sports, West Indies kept their World Cup qualifying hopes alive when they defeated Zimbabwe by 4 wickets in the Super Sixes stage on Monday. Zimbabwe won the toss and elected to bat first and was bowled out for 289 in 50 overs. Brendan Taylor scored an impressive 138 to help prop the score. Sean Williams also came in with 34. The Windies began their fight back with 4 wickets for 35 runs from Jason Holder and 3 for 55 from Kemar Roach. Set an achievable 290 to win, the Windies equaled the target in 49 overs. Marlon Samuels and Shai Hope helped stabilize the score to snatch the Windies from the jaws of defeat, with a man of the match deserving 86 runs from Samuels and Hope 76. Evan Lewis also added a well-deserved 64. In a nail-biting finish, Rovman Powell and Ashley Nurse helped the Windies secure the win with 6 balls to spare. With this result, West Indies have avoided a dropout and will face Scotland on Wednesday. A win against Scotland will put Windies in the finals carded for Sunday. Moving on to football, where 4 teams are through to the semi-finals following the weekend games in the DFA Flow All Nations League. Belfast Estate Mahosoka Strikers, Petro Caribbean Point Michelle, Northern Concrete and Steel Bombers, and Exodus Football Club qualified for the next round since 3 of the 4 games carded for the weekend ended in penalty shootouts. On Sunday, Promex Harlem United and Northern Concrete and Steel Bombers played to a 2-all draw at the end of regulation time. Bombers then advanced 5-4 on penalty kicks to take the win. In another match, Exodus Football Club beat We United 5-4 on penalty kicks after playing to a goal-less draw. On Saturday, Mao Soka Strikers edged out ACS Tarish Football Club 2-1 at Benjamin's Park. Nick Anthony and Jaron Sebastian scored for Soka Strikers, while Hubert Prince got the lone goal for Tarish. Over at Laplin Playing Field, Petro Caribe Point Michel Football Club edged out Sagicor Southeast 5-4 on penalty kicks after their match ended 1-all at regulation time. Meantime, East Jaguars edged out Southern Alpha Warriors 1-0 in the first match of the Under-15 Girls Tournament on Saturday. In the other game, Central Tornadoes and Northern Ballers played to a goal-less draw. And the 47-year-old pilot wins Sunday's cycling race. Jeffrey Kelsick, a Dominican based in Antigua, says Sunday's competition was preparation for the 2018 Commonwealth Games. Kelsick finished first overall, followed by Koath Barron, then Sean Weathered, in a race from Woodbridge Bay to Collio and back. However, Barron placed first in the National Racers category, followed by Levi Barron, then Bram Sanderson.
And I came down to do some of my training down here to aid me in my trip across to represent Antigua in the Commonwealth Games. At the same time, I was happy that they had a race because I normally work with the local guys also because the cycling fraternity in Antigua is a lot further than in Dominica. Of course, they just started. So whenever I'm here, I try to ride and encourage them and show them different technique from what I have already learned in Antigua. So today it was all about noticing them to show them different aspects of the race, different technique. And that is why when Bram had the unfortunate incident when he clipped the back of my back and he fell, the rest of the pack left. But I could just leave him at the back here. So I turned around, pick him up, and we chased the pack once he could get his bike back in order. So I carry him all the way up to Salisbury where we connect back with the pack. And then I decide going up to Salisbury to try and pull the pace a little bit harder. And the only person that was able to come with me was Koaf, which is my nephew.
Last year, Kelsick finished in the top 5 of the 2017 OECS Cycling Championship and says he is hoping to redeem himself this year.
Well, I look forward to it like how I look forward to it. Last year, unfortunately, I fell in the Bailey Bridge down in Battery. I lose about 10 minutes. I was still able to chase the guys down and caught up with most of them. But however, I was only able to secure 4th place overall. And I only came in about 4 minutes and a little bit behind the group leaders. So if I didn't fall, I would have been right up there to be on the podium. So looking forward to it this year. It was funny because I was the one that told them, well, look out for the Bailey Bridge, of course, my knowledge of Dominica. And I was the first person to fall in it.
Meantime, Sunday's first place finisher in the National Riders category, Koath Barron, says his hard work is bearing fruit.
Well, today's race was very good. We went down Collio, felt 50-50. When we were coming back, I felt good. I really thought he would try and push me harder in terms of going up the hills and stuff. But he kept it at a certain pace, so yeah, it was a good race. When I just started, I saw Daddy Chess, my father, everybody going real fast on them bikes. I checking like, boy, one day. And my father always keep on training me until I got to a certain point. I was at same level with him, and now I pushing him a little bit now.
The next national cycling competition is carded for April 1 from Roseau to Portsmouth. That's all the time for sports. Join us next time. To end the news, the headlines again. The resumption of operations at Ross University projected for January 2019. One community designated a disaster area after Tropical Storm Erica, unsure of its readiness for the upcoming hurricane season, and Grenada lends a hand to revive Dominica's cocoa industry. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can also access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Kenny Williams. To all viewers around the world, thank you for watching. Join us tomorrow.